Jasmine Mooney is a Canadian citizen who had a work visa, no criminal record, and had been traveling back and forth between Canada and California without any complications until she says she was suddenly detained without explanation at the San Diego border when she tried to reapply for a new visa. Writing in The Guardian, quote, "I was taken to a tiny freezing cement cell with bright fluorescent lights and a toilet. There were 5 other women lying on their mats with aluminum sheets wrapped over them, looking like dead bodies. The guard locked the door behind me. For 2 days, we remained in that cell, only leaving briefly for food. The lights never turned off. We never knew what time it was, and no one answered our questions. No one in the cell spoke English, so I either tried to sleep or meditate to keep from having a mental breakdown, excuse me. I didn't trust the food, so I fasted, assuming I wouldn't be there long." She added, quote, "I was told to shower, given a jail uniform, fingerprinted, and interviewed. I begged for information. How long will I be here? I don't know your case," the man said. "Could be days, could be weeks. But I'm telling you right now, you need to mentally prepare yourself for months." Ultimately, Mooney says she spent 12 days in detention before she was finally allowed to book herself a flight back home to Canada. Joining us now, Jasmine Mooney. I was blown away by what you wrote in The Guardian. Explain what happened.
I mean, I'm still processing what happened. I got out and it really feels like a dream or a nightmare, but I still really don't know how I ended up there. But now I am really trying to use my voice to tell people what's going on, because I really don't think a lot of people know what's going on in there.
Why weren't you allowed to book yourself a flight back home?
I have no idea. I assume that if there were a denial with my visa, I would just book myself a flight and head back home. Apparently, because I had one denial before and then my other visa was voided. So for some reason, they said that they had to send me back to Canada. And I was literally booking my own flight to go home. And then that's when I was taken, and then I was in there for 12 days, and not a single person talked to me the entire time that I was in there about my case.
Why do you think you were not given the opportunity? Do you feel like you were being used to send a message to others?
You know, I've been trying to come up with every explanation that I can, and I truly don't know. I was in there, I met around 200 other women who, none of us had a criminal record. Everyone's story was different, a lot of the same. A lot of women, I believe, should not be in there. And what I found is the issue wasn't about getting deported. A lot of women admitted that they overstayed their visas. It's just what the issue that they have is the process of getting out of there. It is next to impossible. There is no communication. You do not have an officer to talk to. You can't contact your lawyers or your friends or your family. I was transferred twice in 2 weeks, which is an awful experience. There were girls in there who had been transferred 8 times in a couple weeks. So the whole system just felt super rigged to keep us in there. That's what it felt like.
Well, because you write, this is an interesting part of the article. You say companies like CoreCivic and GEO Group receive government funding based on the number of people they detain, which is why they lobby for stricter immigration policies. It's a lucrative business. CoreCivic made over $560 million from ICE contracts in a single year. In 2024, GEO Group made more than $763 million from ICE contracts. Do you believe that you were kept in there because you were a moneymaker?
Yes, I do. I believe that all the women in there are kept in there as long as possible, transferred around, because it's a business and they make money off of us. That's the only explanation that I could come up with, because I said from day one, I would pay for my ticket to go home. The amount of wasted resources that I witnessed in there, the inhumane conditions, they did everything they can to cut costs. I was given one plastic spoon and one styrofoam cup to last the stay. It was when you start putting the pieces together, that is what I felt.
We have to fight to win. And there is no other way to deal with someone like Donald Trump. He's a bully, and he's going to continue to use bullying tactics. So we have to fight back. I think it's really important to remind folks this is not a fight that we wanted. This is not a war that Canadians wanted. This is a trade war that's going to hurt Americans. It's going to mean that their cost of living goes up. It's going to hurt Canadians. It's going to hurt workers. It is bad. But the only way out of this is to fight back and to stay strong. So we have to fight back. We have to stay strong. And we also need to look for the future where we are less reliant on the United States. And that's why I've talked about the Buy Canadian, Build Canadian, changing the way we buy things so we use our federal dollars towards Canadian-made products, using Canadian content. We've got to really reshape our economy so that we're more resilient and look to other trade partners. But what we're up against right now is serious. And my commitment to Canadians who are watching this today is that I'm going to fight like hell for you. Thank you so much, Missy.
Okay, this order, it's a wonderful order. It's a beautiful order. This order is pulling American booze off the Liquor Mart shelves.
Quite honestly, I've been stunned by a turn of events that would appear that we might abandon Ukraine and collapse long-standing alliances from NATO to NORAD. And then we've got two close neighbors here in Alaska. We got Russia over here. We've got Canada over here. How we came to a place where we're fighting now with Canada and we're making nice with Russia, it's beyond me. And as long as we've got to send up fighter jets to chase off Russian bear bombers from our addies, I'm not going to trust Putin here, and I'm not going to be quiet about it. I'm going to stand up and say so. Thank you.
It was another choppy day on Wall Street as investors braced for more tariff uncertainty. The S&P and Dow both eked out small gains. But I want to share something from economist Rebecca Patterson, who writes that since the Great Recession ended, the U.S. economy has been the envy of the developed world. But thanks to Donald Trump's policies, the answer to the question, can America stay exceptional, is no longer a clear yes. That's bananas. Max, you live in Staten Island. Many people who live where you live voted based on the economy. Inflation was killing them. They didn't feel like they were getting a fair shot. And Donald Trump made the promise, day one, he is taking on inflation. Now the message out of this administration is, well, we're going to have a transition period, pain for now, long-term gain later. Mm-hmm. What are voters in your district? Are they going to give him this time and space?
I think some people will, and other people won't. But he owns the economy right now, and he's actually showing a patent disregard for affordability issues. Talks about it really not at all. But the fact that he did win on this issue should be a lesson for Democrats. And that was principally the point that I was, I hope respectfully, objecting to what you said, which is that the Democrats don't have a messaging problem. Maybe they do slightly, but they have an operational challenge. They can't get things done. Okay, it doesn't matter what you say when it looks like there's an open border and anarchy in cities. It doesn't matter what you say when you have a botched Afghanistan withdrawal or all this disarray in your party over Build Back Better or crime in cities that are run by Democrats. It does not matter what you say at that point, and it certainly doesn't matter what you say when you have skyrocketing inflation and it doesn't look like you're doing something about it. And just lastly, yes, infrastructure bill, phenomenal, but you pass it and then you show zero sense of urgency around things like rural broadband or EV chargers, and you install nothing in 3 years. That is operational ineptitude, and people can see through that. Because I'll tell you one thing I know about voters on Staten Island or anywhere else. They're smart, and they got fantastic instincts, and they can smell BS from a mile away. And that's what Democrats have to work at. If you want to talk about the value of government, be good at governing and take it seriously.
I want to talk more about what
You're saying they can smell BS a mile away?
Sure.
This president is BS cubed. I mean,
1,000%.
Okay,
That's why
but this is a great point because he does this like straight talking
Right.
and people hear it, but it's baloney.
It's all baloney. And you're talking about the infrastructure bill. I remember the infrastructure bill, and I was like, talk about it. Let's talk about it. Let's get little sound bites out. Let's communicate to these people. There's no messenger. We have no messenger.
Okay, well, I want to talk about. I want to go back to the economy for.
It's marketing.
I do want to
Exactly.
go back to the economy though, because the midterms are right around the corner. How long can this period of transition? Because right now the administration is saying, oh, maybe it's just the tariffs, but we're already seeing it, right? We got numbers from Nike today. We got numbers for FedEx. They're all starting to guide us lower. Consumer sentiment is down. Big business, middle business, small business are all starting to feel the pain. So it doesn't matter how many times a week Howard Lutnick goes on television or Scott Bessent says the American dream is not tied to getting cheap goods. The American people are feeling it.
It's amazing what we're hearing right now from Trump officials is exactly what we heard from Biden officials when inflation was starting. They said, oh, there is no inflation. Then they said it's transitory.
I actually heard the word transitory this week,
Right,
and I'm like, that didn't come
transitory
back.
Inflation, right? So, I mean, look, they're saying whatever they think they can say to like get away from the fact that people feel like their wallets are pinched right now. People feel like that their economic future is uncertain. And that may not be the case, by the time of the midterms, but I think there's a lot of reason for people to feel kind of dark about it right now. You're looking at, the threat of tariffs that will, drive up prices for consumers. And so I go back to Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and I hate to get super nerdy here, but
You can't help yourself?
I can't help myself. Let's put the glasses back on
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
So, folks, if people are asking why is Canada passing new laws and they've continued to do it and they've made them stricter since we've last talked about them, passing new laws to remove American alcohol from our liquor stores, right? Which is in some ways a harsher tariff than Trump has done to us, right? Like in most cases, we've retaliated like 1 for 1. You hit us, we'll hit you back. Why in some areas are we hitting a little bit harder? Well, that woman's experience is the reason why. Donald Trump is a bully, but if this was just about trade, it wouldn't be so visceral. I've talked about this. Trade disputes have happened between Canada and the United States for decades, for generations, since Canada was founded. Before Canada was founded and it was Britain, it was still a British colony and the United States existed. There had always been trade disputes. Always. But what's happening right now is a sovereignty threat. This isn't this isn't about a lumber deal. This isn't about the intricacies of tariffs on eggs or whatnot. This is about threatening sovereignty and kidnapping Canadian citizens. And you're damn right that we're going to continue to fight even harder if it's about more than dollars, but it's about dignity.